Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IAS classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 1st February 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 6 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our discussion and let us see first article. Title says a bullet through an island's heart. So this article mainly focusing on mega city plan for Little Andaman. So now let us try to discuss about context, some important details of that project and what are concerns regarding that project. So context says that a plan for the sustainable and holistic development of 680 square kilometers in Little Andaman Island. So because of this project, mainly some concerns they are raised by conservationists. So recently Niti Aayog proposed mainly for sustainable development of Little Andaman Islands and it came up with a vision document. So this document mainly talks about what done by building and as well as new greenfield coastal city that is coming up in Little Andaman Islands. So in this vision document it mainly said that this area will be developed as a free trade zone and it will compete with Singapore and as well as Hong Kong. So in this context, we need to see where is this Andaman Nicobar Islands located. So let me draw here. So here Andaman and Nicobar Islands are located, right? So here we can see Indonesia, Singapore, so and so islands are present here. So here we have one important choke point that is Malacca Strait. Okay. Malacca Strait is present and this is very important. And if you are developing this Little Andaman here and we are mainly going for free trade zone and as well as we are going for development of city in this Little Andaman, so it will compete with Singapore and as well as Hong Kong, some areas which are present in this area. Correct? So this will be very important for strategically. So if you are talking about those details regarding this city, so it mainly contains 3 zones. So first zone mainly spread over 102 square kilometers along east coast of this Little Andaman and they are going for development regarding fields like hospital and as well as tourism, financial district, Medicity, Aerocity. So these are some projects which come up in this zone 1. And if you are talking about zone 2, it mainly spreads over 85 square kilometers and there will be development regarding leisure zone and as well as film city, etc. And next one is in zone 3, it is about 52 square kilometers of pristine forest and it mainly categorized into again 3 districts. First one, it is mainly contains exclusive forest resort. Next one is nature healing district and nature retreat. So these are 3 important districts which are categorized under this zone 3. And if you see under this zone 3, development mainly includes underwater resorts, casinos, golf courses, convention centers, drone port, etc. So these all are developmental projects that will come up in this zone 3. And if you see some concerns which are highlighted here, the first one is if you are talking about connectivity. So if we have talking about this connectivity, here from mainland India, we do not have a proper connectivity here, right? So we do not have direct contact with the mainland country. So because of this, we can see there is lack of connectivity with Indian mainland and global cities. And next one is it is very fragile biodiversity. And next one is nature of ecosystem that is present in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, it is very different. And indigenous tribes are present in Andaman Nicobar Islands, right? So because of that, whenever we are going for development project in this Andaman and Nicobar Island, so that will compromise right of this indigenous tribal people. So it is also one concern regarding this project. Okay. And if you are talking about some details regarding this Little Andaman, so about 95% of Little Andaman mainly covered by forest. So when we are going for development in this area, it will affect biodiversity, it will affect ecosystem that is present in that area. And about 640 square kilometers of reserve forest are present, and in this reserve forest there are many indigenous tribes are present in this area. So I want to give one homework for you people. Homework is you have to open Atlas and you have to see especially this Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So you need to arrange these islands from north to south and let me know in comment box. Don't forget this. And now let us see next article. Title says center likely to postpone census to 2022. So this article mainly focusing on census 2021. So this article will be important for calculation of total population of country. So this will be important regarding society, governance, etc., which comes under GS paper 2. And now let us try to discuss some details of this article and also facts regarding census, historical background of census. So context says that center is on track to push 2021 census to 2022, mainly on account of countries continuing preoccupation with this COVID-19 pandemic. So because of this COVID-19 pandemic, mainly to control this COVID-19 pandemic or to maintain law and order for proper governance in country, so many important government officers, they are involved in this work, like how to contain this COVID-19 pandemic, right? So because of this, it mainly delayed this census 2021. So this is some background of this article. Now let us try to understand reasons exactly why we are delaying this census 2021 to census 2022. So here mainly because of delaying with COVID-19 pandemic. So because of this COVID-19, many government officers, they are involved in this work, and there are many measures taken by these government officers how to deal with this pandemic. And now we are going towards massive vaccination program. So because of all these reasons, we are going to delay this census 2021. And if you're talking about some details which are given in this article, it mainly says that this census exercise was to be conducted in two phases. First phase here is house listing and housing census. Second one is population enumeration. So if you're talking about this house listing and housing census, so this will be conducted between April to September 2020. So some states also opted for this first phase, but in some states they do not took this first phase, because whenever we are seeing there is large number of this COVID-19 cases, so in that states they postpone this. Okay, and next one is population enumeration. So that will be taken from February 9 to February 28, 2021. So in these two phases, census will be carried out. But because of some states, they postpone this phase 1. Now we are not going to this census 2021, but we are going to get census 2022 this year. So if you're talking about some facts regarding this census, first now let us see about census 2021. So this census 2021, it is conducted in 18 languages out of 22 scheduled languages. And if you're talking about census, it mainly provides information regarding size, distribution, socio-economic, demographic and other characteristics of population that is present in country. And if you are going back to our history, even in our Rig Veda, mainly talks about some kind of population count was maintained during 800 to 600 BC. So even in our ancient time, during Rig Veda period, there was population count. And if you are talking about Arthashastra, Arthashastra was wrote by Kautilya. So it came up in 3rd century BC. So this Arthashastra also prescribed about collection of population statistics. So whenever we are going to collect this population statistics, it will be helpful for easy administration and for easy state policies and also easy taxation that will be implemented whenever we are having certain data regarding this population. And next one is, even in medieval period, Mughal king Akbar also came up with administration report. Name of that report is Ain-e-Akbari. So this Ain-e-Akbari mainly provides some comprehensive data regarding population, industries, wealth and other characteristics of population at that time. And we got our first synchronous census in India in year 1881. So these are some historical background of census in India. Now let us see next article. Title says India delivers 2 cranes for Chabahar port. So we already studied about this article, I think 7 days back. And now let us see again this topic. So this will be helpful for revision also. So this article will be important regarding international relations, which comes under GS paper 2. Now let us see context first. India handed over 140 ton cranes for loading and unloading equipment to Iranian government. So India mainly handed over 2 cranes of capacity 140 tons, which will be helpful for loading and unloading in Chabahar port. And next one is, these cranes, they are part of a full consignment of 6 mobile harbor cranes. So out of these 6 mobile harbor cranes, now we handed over 2 cranes to Chabahar port. So worth of this project here is $25 million. And next important detail here we should know here is India mainly plans to invest in power project. So this is mainly one indicator that government expects some easing up of US sanctions. So if you are talking about Iran, US mainly imposed sanctions regarding Iran's nuclear deal, and from this Iran's nuclear deal US also left out. But now we are seeing there is a new administration in America, that is Biden came into power, and after Biden came into administration, he begins mainly address to its policy to re-enter this Iran's nuclear deal. So because of this, we can see there is decrease in sanctions on Iran. So if you are talking about geopolitics, now India mainly moving towards USA, correct? India moving towards USA. But if you are talking about Iran, it is moving towards China. And China came up with number of infrastructure projects in Iran. So because of this, USA, now India it is moving towards USA. Now India is aligned towards USA. And if you are talking about Iran, which is moving towards China. So if you are talking about China and USA, they are bitterness that is happening between USA and China. So because of this, Iran mainly moving towards China. So whenever China, which is closely to Iran, then Iran mainly used by India mainly to enter into Middle East and as well as Western countries, Western Asian countries here. So because of this Iran plays a very, very important role to India. And now let us see some facts regarding this Chabahar port. So this Chabahar port located in Gulf of Oman. So it is only 72 kilometers away from Gwadar port in Pakistan, and this Gwadar port mainly developed by China here. So this port mainly serves as only oceanic port in Iran. So this only port in world which mainly contains 2 separate ports. First one is Shahid Baheshti and next one is Shahid Kalantari. So in last week's current affairs, that is prelims practice questions, students who enrolled to this current affairs package, we gave practice questions, right? So in that last week practice question, we include this question regarding separate ports of Chabahar. Okay, and now let us see about geopolitical significance of Chabahar. So first one is it will helpful to boost trade ties and as well as diplomatic ties, military ties with Iran. So whenever we are going for this type of projects or this type of infrastructure development in Iran, that will mainly helpful for democratic ties and as well as to maintain military ties with Iran. And next one is this Chabahar port, which provides India with better connectivity to Afghanistan. So if you are talking about India's direct boundaries, so India also shared boundary with Afghanistan in this area, but this area it is under Pakistan control, that is Pak occupied Kashmir. So because of this, if we want to reach this Afghanistan, we do not have direct land boundary here. So we need to go for sea route, and first we need to go for Chabahar port, which is located in Iran, and from Iran we need to connect Afghanistan mainly through roadways or railways here. So in this way, this Chabahar port will be very, very important to reach Afghanistan to bypass Pakistan. And next one is this Chabahar port also acts as international north-south transport corridor. So this north-south transport corridor mainly it is combination of 3 routes, that is road route, rail route and sea routes. So this international north-south transport corridor mainly connects Russia, Europe, Central Asia, Iran, India, etc. Okay, so this is about this international north-south transport corridor. And this Chabahar port, it is very, very near to Gwadar port. So because of this is very, very strategically important for India, mainly for Indian Navy and as well as defense establishment in this Chabahar port. That will help to counter this Gwadar port, which is located in Pakistan. So these are some important facts that you should remember regarding this article. So before seeing next article, I want to make a small announcement. We came up with this current affairs package course. So in this course, we are exclusively focusing on current affairs and also mains answer writing practice. So current affairs are very, very important to clear prelims and also mains, and even in interview you can expect questions from current affairs. So 50 to 60% of your question paper, that is from current affairs. So mastering of current affairs is very, very important regarding UPSC. And if you are talking about this answer writing practice, there is nothing to tell, right? Everyone knows about importance of answer writing skills. Without proper answer writing skills, you will not clear UPSC for sure. And even if you enroll to this course, we are also providing prelims practice questions on weekly basis along with video solutions. So in this way, you are mastering current affairs, you are also improving your mains answer writing skills, and also you are practicing prelims practice questions. So in this way, what is the demand of UPSC, that will be addressed if you are joining into this course. So please don't take this course as a choice. Please try to join this course as soon as possible and achieve your dream of clearing UPSC. And now let's come back and let us see next article. Title says the farm laws needed political resolution. So regarding this farm laws, there are a number of articles that are coming in newspaper. So it gave some new insights. So whatever it is new in this article, we are going to discuss that. And this farm laws will be important regarding economy, which comes under GS paper 3, and as well as polity, which comes under GS paper 2. So this article mainly regarding this political resolution. So it is important regarding GS paper 2 under polity. Now let us try to discuss important parts regarding this article. So this article mainly focusing on farm laws. So these farm laws are passed by parliament, and because of this farm laws, we are seeing protests that are caused. These are protests that are led by farmers across the country. So because of this protest, that is increasing trust deficit between states and farmers here. So if you are talking about agriculture, which mainly comes under state list, but center came up with this law. So there is one question that arises here, that is, what is constitutionality of this farm laws? And if you are talking about farmers, their main concern here is private sector which will increase in agriculture whenever these farm laws are implemented here. So private sector control will increase in agriculture and resources which comes under hands of private sector. So whenever private sector involvement is increasing in farm laws and the farm sector, then it will lead to decline in agriculture wages and also falling in the farm gate prices, and also finally it will lead to decrease in farmers' income, and finally it will reduce agriculture prices in market. So because of this, these are one important cause of concern for this farmer. And if you are talking about one example which is mainly given to substantiate these statements here, the first one is APMC mandis. So APMC mandis, they are abolished in Bihar. So because of this APMC mandis that are abolished in Bihar, that led to decline in agriculture wages, falling of prices of goods or agriculture commodities in markets that are evident here. And if you see, farmers' fears are increasing more because now we are facing economic crisis. Our economy is slowing down, and as well as we are facing some twin droughts in year 2014 and 2015. As you know, State of Climate report also said that this 2020 it is 8th warmest year. So because of this, we see unforeseen monsoon and also unexpected monsoon, and some areas we are seeing drought, etc. Some areas increase in rainfall. So because of this global warming also having impact on climate change. And next one is agriculture sector also seen severe distress from last 6 years. So if at all private sector involvement is increasing, it will further decrease income of farmers. So this is one cause of concern for farmers. So if you are talking about these farm bills, they are mainly passed by parliament here. So whenever these bills, they need to be repealed or they need to be amended. So this repealed and amended, that can be done only by parliament but not by state governments here. So in this way, parliament is supreme authority, mainly because of which it can take some power to resolve this issue, mainly regarding this farmers issue between states and farmers here. So in this context here, we can use parliamentary standing committees. So these parliamentary standing committees, they can play an important role mainly to resolve this issue. They can go for recommendations, they can go for discussions, debates regarding this, what are the important things regarding this farm laws, and finally they can convince these farmers and stakeholders like state, government, etc., such that we can finally implement reforms in this farm sector. So this is the gist of this article. I hope it is clear. Now let us see next article. Title says the Mahatma and the empowerment of other. So this article mainly talking about ideas of Mahatma Gandhi. So here this article mainly focusing on empowerment of other people. So this article will be important regarding ethics, which comes under GS paper 4. Okay, and this article is in news because why Mahatma Gandhi is in news? If you see this 30th January, which is mainly celebrated as death anniversary, right? So because of this, Mahatma Gandhi is in news. Now let us try to discuss about what are views of Mahatma Gandhi regarding empowerment of other. So this article mainly focusing on idea of empowerment. Here if you see, idea of Gandhi should be remembered mainly for identified with its idea of empowerment of other. So if you are talking about Gandhi, one thing that should get in your mind here is empowerment here. So essence of Gandhiji's political philosophy is mainly we need to empower other, irrespective of gender, race, class, creed, sex, so and so. We need to empower other. Empowerment of other, it is one of the important essence of Gandhiji's political philosophy. So Gandhiji mainly understood democracy as a socio-political institution. So in this socio-political institution, empowerment is important. Empowering other, which we need to assert, we need to mainly focus on right to speak freely, that is article 19, that mainly talks about freedom of speech and expression, that is article 19 subclass 1a. Okay, and next one is we need to provide right to act differently, that means people, they need to express their different views. So in this way there is a need of empowerment of other. And he also said that spirit of democracy is not mechanical. So we need to adjust by abolition of forms. We need to come up with change in our heart. So this is spirit of democracy. Spirit of democracy, it is not mechanical, but we need to bring change from heart. And he also focused on spirit of democracy that mainly requires inculcation of brotherhood. Without brotherhood we cannot do anything. So brotherhood is very, very important. We need to impact brotherhood feeling. We need to impact unity feeling in people, and individual liberty, that should be respected. So this is also one important idea of Mahatma Gandhi. And Gandhiji mainly invited individuals to rule themselves against weaker natures. So he mainly focused on self-governing agents. So there is a need of self-governing agents, local government, etc. And he also talked about create and cultivate. So this create and cultivate mainly regarding we need to create public culture of citizenship, and this public culture of citizenship mainly guarantees everyone right opinion and right action. And next one is Gandhiji also appealed to ethical in different ways, like civilized modern politics and by shortening circuit of conquest. And we need to not to go for governance, and we need to not to go for violence. He mainly focused on non-violence. There should be no domination of majority on minority. So even minority, they should have right to speak, and they should speak their different views, and they need to express their different views, okay, very freely. So these are some important ideas of empowerment of Gandhi. So he also talked about ethical citizenship. For ethical citizenship, we need to go for individual capacity. We need to focus on individual. So whenever value system which is inculcated at individual level, all individuals, they come and they form community. So all communities, they come and they form state. So all states which comes and form together country here. So because of this, first of all, we need to inculcate this value system at individual level. So we need to impart empathic friendship between individuals. So in this way, we need to move towards moral progress than compared to that of this material progress. So Gandhiji's view of civilization here is strong conviction that civilization. So whenever we are having strong conviction than that of this civilization, it will help humanity at large, and we can realize the path of righteousness and compassion, and we need to put morality over materialism. So these are some important things which said by Gandhiji regarding empowerment of others. And now let us see next article. Title says the problem of aging dams. So this article is important regarding environment and ecology, which comes under GS paper 3, and also economy, which comes under GS paper 3. And this topic will be especially important regarding mains. So this article mainly focused on some dams here. It also gives some examples of dams. So you need to refer those dams, on which river they are present and in which state they are present. So there are about 4 dams which are given in this article. So please refer that. So this is also your homework. And now let us see context here, background. Here dams or reservoirs, they are mainly built across rivers, right? So they are believed to secure our water needs for future. So mainly if at all river is flowing, we are constructing dam here, and we are storing this large amount of water within this place. And whatever water is stored here, we can go for generation of hydroelectricity, and we can also provide water supply mainly to agriculture fields, that is called as irrigation, right? So these are some advantages of constructing these dams here. but data and some studies mainly says that because of these dams, it mainly threatening our water security. So if you are talking about this data, it mainly says that India ranks 3rd in world in terms of building of large dams. So if you are talking about number of dams which are present in India, there are about 5,200 large dams are present in India. So out of this 1100 dams, they already reached 50 years of age, and some are even older than 120 years. So age of dams is increasing day by day. And this study also says that we can increase this 1100 dams, that can be increased to 4,400 dams by 2050. That means we can say about 80% of nation's large dams, they face prospect of becoming obsolete, that means old. So because of this, whenever dam's age is increasing, then that shelf life of that dam will be decreased. So for example, we can say Krishna Raja Sagar Dam, which was built in year 1931, and now it have 90 years of age. And if you are talking about Mittur Dam, which is located in Kerala, so it was constructed in year 1934 and it is about 87 years old. So if you are talking about what is issue of this aging dams, so whenever dams age is increasing, as we know, rivers, they are moving, right? So water will be moved continuously in rivers. So whenever water is moving in these areas, what happened? It also have capability to bring sediments, right? So what happened? We are constructing dam here and we are obstructing movement of water. So because of this, whatever sediments which are carried by this river, so that will be deposited here. For example, let us take a glass. So now let us take capacity of gas here is 250 ml of water. So now we added some silt or sediment at the end of this. We added some silt or sand to this glass, and now the capacity of this glass will be decreased, so it can hold only 100 ml of water, right? So in this way, what happened, whenever rivers are moving, and in rivers have capacity to bring lot of amount of sediments here, right? So these sediments are deposited here. So because of sedimentation depositing in these dams, capacity of dams will be reduced, that is storage capacity will be reduced here. So because of this is one cause of concern regarding aging of dams. For example, Hirakud Dam, Maithan Dam, Gode Dam. So these are mainly increase in siltation that is seen, and in Hirakud Dam there is increased siltation of 141.6%. Regarding this Maithan Dam, about 808.6% of siltation that increased, and Gode Dam it is about 426.59% of siltation is increased. So what might be the consequences? The consequences is, the first one is here, soil is replacing water, right? First one is soil is replacing water. So because of the storage capacity of dam will be decreased and supply gets choked here. Next one is because of decreasing in the storage capacity of that dam. So whatever extra water which is coming here, that will lead to flooding. So flooding will be increased here. For example, flooding in Barkuch in 2020, in Kerala 2018, Chennai 2015. So these are some examples for floods which are led by these dams. And next one is crop area that begins to receive less water. So irrigation facilities will be decreased. So because of this, net sown area that will be shrinking, and soil which depends on groundwater will be increased. So because of this, what happened? There will be over exploitation of the groundwater. So this is also one cause of concern. And next one is crop insurance and investment regarding farmers that will be increased here. Finally, because of this aging of dams, here crop yield get affected, and as well as farmer income will be decreased. So these are consequences. So finally, what we should do? We need to study regarding this siltation, and we need to remove those sediments which are present in these dams to increase capacity, that is storage capacity of these dams. So this is gist of this article. So now let us see mains question. India's aging dams can threaten water security, affect farmers' income, and increase flooding. You have to evaluate. Here key word is evaluate. So you have to write answers, and answer should not be more than 150 words. So by this we are concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. And don't forget to join this current affairs package course. Thank you so much.